Santa Cruz County wants to change the rules on calling 911. They're considering a law to make it illegal to call police on someone because of their race.
Welcome to the Twilight Zone. This is something that you guys forgot about from 2020. I did a landmark. I did the definitive video on Central Park Karen in her situation, her incident, her dust up with the bird watcher in Central Park in New York. And at that time, that was a few weeks after Floyd. No, that was a day. No, that was a day after Floyd. I forgot because that was the day after Floyd. So we're talking about right back to back. Okay, so that kind of added to the situation because it was like, oh, she just called the police on him because he was a Sun man. And nothing could be further from the truth. I promise I'm going to put the link to that one in the description box. I say that a lot and I never end up putting the link in there. I am going to put the link to that one in the description box. I promise you on that one. And after that Central Park Karen situation, which was a total hoax, a total fraud, not even like a conspiracy type fraud. Like he lied, and then came back after and told the truth and nobody reported it. So that sparked talk of laws where to make it illegal to call the police on someone just because of the color of their skin. Because that's what's going on here in America. People are just picking up the phone and dialing 911 on Sunday for no reason. That's what's happening everywhere. That explains, the crime surge. That explains why, police departments are reporting so much crime, right? And they talked about that a lot. And then it just went away. Well, it's back in the middle of the worst crime wave in 30 years in this country. They're bringing this back, and of course, it's California.
Santa Cruz County wants to change the rules on calling 911. They're considering a law to make it illegal to call police on someone because of their race. KPIX5's Devin Feely joining us live with how that would work. Devin?
Yeah, it's a bit reductive, but you can think of this in essence as anti-Karen legislation. Now, law enforcement agencies say they get calls all the time of someone reporting a quote-unquote suspicious person. What the Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office wants people to do is ask themselves, why do I think this person is suspicious before picking up the phone and calling 911?
This is going to get a lot, and I mean a lot of people killed. Okay? If people feel like they will now be charged with a crime if they call 911 and the police show up and the Sun man who was just, fiddling with their door in their car or lurking in the cut or peeking through their window. And we're just only talking about Sun men because this is who the law is for, so don't get triggered. But if the Sun man who was, harassing them or, following them, if he's a good talker when the cops showed up, oh man, they just said that because I'm black, man. I didn't even do nothing, man. I didn't. If he's a good talker, then they'll go to jail. People are going to probably hesitate. And it doesn't take not calling 911. All it takes is hesitating. Okay? Because every moment is critical when you're in the clutches or in the crosshairs of a criminal, a violent criminal. And in this video, we're talking about Sunmen because that's who this law is designed for, to protect. And things start in California and they go nationwide. California is usually the canary in the coal mine. So you're going to see this popping up in other places like Chicago, Detroit, D.C., New York, New Orleans. And, of course, the woke people there, the sisters and the white liberals, are going to be like, yeah, man, they all they do. Even though they're living in abject terror. But they just can't help it. They just woke by default. So they'll support this, and this will go through in a lot of places. And it's good for me as a Sun man. But I don't get too much benefit because I'm not a criminal. So no one's ever called the police on me for no reason. Now, people have called the police on me for a reason, plenty of times. But never for no reason. And I can say that now because, I mean, back then but now, of course, when I was young, I was like, man, I ain't did that, I ain't do nothing, man. But now, just being honest and looking back, nobody, they never called the police on me for no reason. Now, here's the thing. This is going to be a lot of people hurt. I'd like to know what you guys think about this in the chat.
Yeah, it's a bit reductive, but you can think of this in essence as anti-Karen legislation. Now,
and since we know that Karen is a moniker used solely for glacier glider women, solely. Is this not racist? You're basically inferring that glacier glider women are just running around calling the cops on Sunmen for no reason. And it's epidemic to the point where you need a law. And every Karen incident that I saw was petty but justified. The one in Oakland over the using the coal charcoal instead of propane at that park. Well, that was a very nice park until some people started coming there and using the charcoal pits, using charcoal to grill. And what would some people do? Dump the charcoal out of their grill along with all their trash, leave it there, and go on about their way. Trust me, I've seen it. It's a lot of parks in the DC area. Not all Sun people, but when it happens, it's Sun people. And they leave their trash, they leave the coals there. And what happened was that lady, she got tired of it. So she saw some Sun people grilling with charcoal. And she called the police on them. And this was before the wokeopolis. She would never do nothing like that now. But this was before the wokeopolis. And you know what happened? Her life got ruined. Yes, it was petty. Yes, she should have minded her business. I think that if she was going to call the police, she should have just went somewhere and called the police. She stood in front of them and called the police. That's very dangerous. Don't ever do that. But she brought that on herself. She was an idiot. But there were signs. If you look at the video, there's a sign right there that says, no charcoal. No grilling with charcoal. Only propane. And she kept referring to the sign. It didn't matter. My point is, to insinuate that glacier glider women are just running around looking and hunting and searching for some men that are doing things wrong. That's not the norm. That's like 0.5% of all 911 calls. The majority of 911 calls are legit. And if you live in the Sun community, you know. And if you're a glacier glider who lives in Sun community, you know. Everyone knows. This law is going to get a lot of people hurt.
Yeah, it's a bit reductive, but you can think of this in essence as anti-Karen legislation. Now, law enforcement agencies say they get calls all the time of someone reporting a quote-unquote suspicious person. What the Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office wants people to do is ask themselves, why do I think this person is suspicious, before picking up the phone and calling 911. The Sheriff's Office says 911 calls motivated by bias are deeply damaging to the person who had police called on them for no apparent reason.
They're not violating the law. They're engaged in lawful conduct, and because of someone's bias against someone's protective class, they make a call to law enforcement.
The Board of Supervisors voted unanimously to create civil penalties up to $1,000 for anyone who calls law enforcement on the basis of race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, or any other legally protected class.
A bias exists, and this person isn't doing anything wrong. They're not checking door handles, looking into a person's home or car.
Supporters say the law is about fairness and justice, not discouraging people from calling 911 or protecting their community.
We're not trying to stop that. We have to make calls when there's something wrong, but to think twice maybe, and maybe be more aware of an entire situation.
So this red bone sister, she's number one. Like, when you talk about females that get whacked out across the board, her profile, her whole little, this is number one, okay, on the list. We know Sun women lead the nation in female by far getting knocked out. But this version right here, because they're the most desired, they're the ones that are in close proximity most of the time, they by far, and she's telling other people, wow. And y'all see the stories I do on my channel. Y'all see the stories. Her demographic is number one. All women. Across the board.
We're not trying to stop that. We have to make calls when there's something wrong, but to think twice maybe, and maybe be more aware of an entire situation.
Others, however, worry that people may be penalized for doing what law enforcement has long asked, to call them if something seems odd or someone seems suspicious.
You think of this, you see someone might be suspicious, you call the cops, they in fact weren't doing anything and they are of color, now you feel, most people are going to feel like even worse if it's a person of color.
The Sheriff's Office says they receive hundreds of suspicious person calls each year, but say they can't pinpoint exactly how many of those are motivated by bias.
Impossible for them to know how many are motivated by bias unless they can read people's minds. Now, who's doing all the crime up in this area? Don't answer that.
The Sheriff's Office says they receive hundreds of suspicious person calls each year, but say they can't pinpoint exactly how many of those are motivated by bias. Some say it's all a bit confusing, and they're left to wonder when, or if, they should call the police at all.
I feel that anybody should be allowed to call 911 if you are in definite concern.
Who thinks that she was protesting last year? Defund the police. It's California, Santa Cruz liberal. Who thinks she was protesting last year? Empty the prisons. Cops are killers. We don't need them. They make it worse. All they do is run around and kill some people. My, what a difference a epic crime wave makes.
At all.
I feel that anybody should be allowed to call 911 if you are in definite concern.
So, Devin, just to be clear, the law is not just limited to race.
No, that's right. It is broader than that. It's race and ethnicity and gender and sexual orientation, all of those protected classes. But make no mistake, race is at the heart of this conversation. And some of the incidents that have gone on to live in viral infamy definitely have a racial dimension to them.
Yeah, we have seen those. All right, Devin Feely, thank you.